Welcome back to another live edition of the Cougs on the Couch podcast, sponsored by CougFan.com. First off, go check out CougFan.com. A lot of our information that we're getting today on the new WSU signee quarterback, as well as the report cards that we're going to go through for the overall, recruiting class for both football and basketball. A lot of that information is found on CougFan.com. Go check them out. Sign up for their premium membership. Also, make sure to check out the Cougar Collective if you're not an 1890 member donor yet. Go check them out. $18.90 a month. Help keep the athletes in Pullman. Also, I got a DM this weekend from a member of the WSU club hockey team. So in the link of this video, or in the description of this video, is going to be a link that you can click on to go donate to the club hockey team to help support their fundraising, to help them travel to different universities and keep their club team alive. As you might already know, Dylan and I started the club baseball team back in 2016. So any way we can help keep the club teams active, we're all for it. And then, of course, if you or someone you know is thinking of buying, selling, or refinancing on the West Coast, reach out to myself for your mortgage. And if you're in a sunny state, make sure to reach out to Dylan. Dylan, how are we doing this week?
We're doing all right. We got a new quarterback coming into campus. We'll talk about that. But hey, and my quick plug, if you go to Connor, you're looking for a new home, you're looking to finance, you get that new home, well, you might want to put some solar panels on it if you live in Arizona or California or another sunny state. So reach out to me if you need any help locking in an energy rate. But super excited with what we have on deck today. We've got a special guest joining us for the whole show, former CFC beat writer Jackson Gardner. And we're going to bring him on here. We're going to give another plug to the hockey team. He's got one of their hockey jerseys right behind him here. Let's take a look.
Oh, there we go.
Bear with us. There it is. Hey, Jackson.
Right there. How we doing, boys?
That's sick.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on.
Very convenient that I had the hockey jersey ready to go for us.
Yeah, what was the story with the hockey jersey again?
I just saw that they were promoting on Twitter, and I saw the jersey, and I was like, that is the coolest looking jersey ever, and I just bought it. I was like, why not? Support the club hockey and get a sick jersey.
$140.
$140.
Hey, and we all know how the clubs work. Probably $50 to make the jersey, so they're probably pocketing $80 to $90 for traveling and
good on
the whole 9 yards.
Good on them. Go make.
But yeah, I mean, we've got a good show today. Obviously, Johnny Shepherd kind of. You know what? Let's before we go into the new quarterback, let's talk about our old quarterback first. Connor and I got an opportunity to sit down with Luke Falk earlier this week for an hour on Cinco de Mayo. And if you guys have not checked out the full interview, please go to the Couch GM's YouTube, check that out. We had a lot of fun talking with Luke, going through his new aspect as mental training and on the mental side of things for sports, as well as going into his story and a lot of anecdotes from his time at WSU and even in the NFL.
And so this first clip that I'm going to play here is Luke Falk talking about what it's like to be a walk-on at Washington State, or just in general.
Well, being an actual walk-on is not sexy. The idea of being a walk-on and going for your dreams and the Rudy model, thankfully I was a little bit bigger than Rudy. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. So I got on campus, I was the 5th on the depth chart, and I go, oh shit, I made a mistake, because in practice, it seemed like everything was stacked against me. And that Leach didn't do what he said he was going to do, from a standpoint that I was going to get equal opportunity. Because one, our strength coach, Coach Lascalzo, I'm sure he'll watch this at some point. I hated him. He was the weed out process guy completely. And I mean, I was the walk-on. I was like the bottom of the totem pole. So he was going to do everything he possibly could, just our whole group. And we had a really talented class that came in, but we were really undisciplined when we got there. And so we learned the hard way. I don't know if the new NCAA rules would allow them to do what Coach Lascalzo did. I mean, we called him Loco because he's crazy for a reason. I love him today, but I wanted to quit. I mean, if they had the transfer portal then, I probably would have transferred. But I'm glad I didn't, because wow, what great lessons and learning it was.
if you're listening to this, you probably know Luke Falk's story, but hearing his background with his story in high school, going from Utah to California, back to Utah, up to Washington State as a walk-on, and then grinding through it and becoming the all-time WSU and Pac-12 passing leader. I know, Jackson, were you a writer at the time when Luke Falk was there,
Yeah.
and what insight,
Yeah.
what do you remember of his time there?
I mean, I was there, so I was working for the Evergreen his junior year, and then I was at Coug Fan for his senior season. And, to watch that, I try and square that with, like, we would literally go on to call this man the Messiah. Like, we gave him a biblical nickname, and he was thinking about quitting his, freshman or his first season here. Like, that is the trajectory that this man went on. And it's remarkable. It is truly remarkable of someone who just completely slipped under the rug from everyone else and landed in WSU. And that's kind of those are the magical stories at WSU are the Luke Falks. Didn't have anything that was, that personal with him. It was a professional relationship when I covered him, but like, it's just incredible to hear that and think, like, that man now owns essentially every Pac-12 passing record, that exists.
Probably forever.
Yeah.
I mean, with how often people are transferring, with the style of play, I mean, the fact that they were in the air raid, of course, he has the most attempts, so that's obviously playing into the records that he set. But just the style of play, the transfer portal, all these different factors, like, no one's gonna break those records really in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting because it caught my attention when he said, like, if things were like they are today, I probably would have transferred. And it just made me think, like, man, would Leach's teams be unsustainable today? I know we're getting a little off topic here, but, like, I don't think he could have actually kept a roster together with his style, and maybe just because of his legend, like, it works. But with how easy it is to transfer and the money that's being tossed around, and now it's all legal, like, I just can't imagine that works out. Like, yeah, Luke would have jumped. So many of those guys we think about probably would have jumped ship. So it's just kind of like, I'm so thankful to have been there and to have covered it and to have gotten to experience it, because that's over. And now, we're going to be talking about this new quarterback coming in. Like, we have to recalibrate our brains to think about the new reality of college football and not be caught up in the Luke Falk days.
Well, and that's interesting that you say that too, because it's like, when you look at some of Leach's teams, like, dude, he had guys coming in from Florida, like Isaiah Mack Johnson, Tavares Martin, Keith Harrington. Like, he was getting dudes in SEC states. And, like, you take a look, how, if it would be unsustainable nowadays, I think it would be. I mean, we truly didn't get to see it because he passed too early. Obviously, it was 2022. Maybe he got a year of NIL of coaching in that aspect. But
yeah.
I mean, gosh, where would guys like Desmond Patman go, or Booby Williams, or like, we had Jamal Morrow on, and it's like, when you ask these guys about the transfer portal, a lot of them, like, have this sense of, they just go, damn, that's just that was a little too late, because I'll be honest, man, Jackson, Connor, myself, if we were all 3-4-star players that became fixtures at our small school, and all of a sudden Texas A&M said, hey, Jackson, I got $700,000 for you.
700,000. Oh, guys, if they offered me 100,000, I would be like, yep, where's my ticket? Like, I'm gone. Like,
you have to cash in when you can.
Totally. And we get on kids, I think, a little too hard for taking that money, but, like, you try and consider that kind of money. 700, like I was just saying, like, $100,000, $50,000, $25,000, like, that kind of money just hitting your bank account at 21 years old, even younger potentially. Like, I just can't fault a single one of them, and that's certainly why I just think, as great and romantic as those Leach years were, like completely unsustainable in today's age, because all of those kids would have been gone.
Devil's
That was
advocate also. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that's the environment that Leach tried to create. Was this like it pissed everyone off? Like that was the kind of mentality. Everyone is angry. No one actually wants to be here. We're all working for something better, and that's what creates these winning teams, is all of these pissed off guys. And now that only works when you actually can't leave. Like you have to be here. There's no way out other than working through it. Now you can go whenever you want. If coach pisses me off, I can get on the line and say, hey, Texas Tech, you got 50K you can throw me? Sweet. Boom. Gone.
Hey, you also could be a quarterback who's 4-0 at UNLV and go, you know what? I don't think I'm really getting what I'm worth here. I'm going to take off 4 games into the season.
Right. And then that's just bad agenting. But that's what's so unfortunate about this. Because, I never worked in sports agents world, but I did work at a talent agency for a little while and got to sort of understand the dynamics of what representing athletes means. And when you really try and think about that, it is such a small industry, it's such a small business, because there's only 3,000 NFL players that need representation at any given time. So, that can be covered by
small circle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a small circle. And so when you introduce this an industry that a lot of people want to get in, but there's not a lot of spots. And now there's this need for, theoretical
used car
for
salesman.
Agents it is just used car salesmen across the lot. And it's unfortunate that, because at least what I would experience it with actors was that there is a sense of validation with being represented by, having representation. Yeah. Do you feel validated that you belong, it gives you sort of a sense of self-worth? And to see that be exploited by a lot of the agents is just incredibly tragic. But, that's kind of just the name of the game. There always have been scumbag agents, and there always will be scumbag agents. That's just the way the world works.
Well, it's funny too. It's like, I'm pretty sure the cap is like 2.99% on any NFL deal with like an NFL certified agent. And then I'm on Instagram the other day, and this, how you have like your recruits, and they'll put up their just signed with WSU, and they have their well, now you have agents that are putting up 2.5 million earned from all my, current players in the league. And it's just like used car salesman with
it is humiliating. And that was
the I can make the most money off of you.
Yeah.
You should hire me.
That's the number one thing I learned in the agency, not sports agency business, but if you need to shout from the rooftops how much money you're making, guess what? You fall into the scumbag agent category. The real agents do not need to shout from the mountains who they represent and how much money they're making. If you work in that business, there's a general understanding that the money will come. And so if you're the one that's trying to sort of validate yourself by shouting it out, you're probably one of the bad ones.
And this comment here from Mark stating an interesting thought that maybe coaches have to be a little nicer to their kids as a part of retention with the transfer portal. As we heard from Luke Falk, hey, those practices sucked. And they did a lot of stuff that they did not like, and they got punished for messing up. You can't do that type of stuff nowadays. And Mark had another comment talking about Leach's days at Texas Tech, which I won't post, but you get the point.
Craig Jones's son stuck in a locker all of practice. Catch the ball.
Okay, here's this one right there.
No, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's totally true.
That's how we got him to Wazoo. If he doesn't make that, if he doesn't do that, he's never a Washington State head coach.
And Dylan, I know we'll get to talking about basketball later, but do you remember when you suggested that WSU should pursue Rick Pitino? And like, I was thinking about that and like, wow, what a take that aged incredibly well, I thought. Do you remember that? It was probably 20.
What's funny, yes, that's 2019. And shout out Britton Ranford, BK Ransford. He posted a obviously engineered photo of Rick Pitino in Wazoo gear and this and that. Sure. And I saw it and I like texted Greg. I'm like, Greg, can I run with this? He's like, absolutely. And I texted
Greg would love that.
I texted him a couple weeks ago when Dylan Darling committed to St. John's. I don't know if you missed that.
I saw that. I guess what I should ask is there something that I missed? Because like, was he a walk-on? Was he a scholarship player at WSU?
So he was a scholarship player scholarship player under Kyle Smith. Kyle leaves, he takes off, and I think he was already gone no matter what if Kyle was returning because he wasn't playing very much that season. Transfers to Idaho State, becomes the Big Sky Player of the Year, and shout out to Dylan Darling. I mean, hey, he basically did what college sports is allowing you to do nowadays. Okay, let me go down one, get my bread, get my points, my accolades, and now I'm getting a bag from Rick Pitino and I'm playing in the Big East. But that's what brought it up. And I was like, I sent that to Greg. I'm like, look at this, Dylan Darling headed to St. John's. And he goes, oh, Ricky P. And I sent him, I said, you remember when I did that? He goes, dude, we got so many clicks on that one story. It wasn't even funny on Pitino. And you know what? You look at it now, if they offered him the job, I wonder if he would have taken it. I mean,
probably.
How epic would it have been?
I mean, he ended up taking Iona, no? So like, a Power 5 school at the time, like he absolutely would have taken it. And I think considering what Leach had done at WSU, like, I feel like
they would have been on campus for 1 year together.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine like if we could have gotten a Pitino Leach podcast or something? Oh my God. That would have paid for the NIL fund. That like we could have paid all of our talent through a media network featuring Mike Leach and Rick Pitino. That would have what could have been. Damn.
But
I do have one more clip that I'll play from Falk.
Which
is some new news, which is great upcoming, and then we'll get into the transfer quarterback here.
November 4th. I got the Mind Strength Playbook for Athletes, a book coming out. And I think you'll be able to pre-order it hopefully sometime during the, mid-September, maybe like Apple Cup week. That would be fun to be able to pre-order it. But it's going to be a great book, a great tool for athletes, coaches, and parents who want to learn more about the most valuable asset, their mind.
Are you going to read that on Audible?
Oh, you'll be able to hear me talk to you to sleep at night. A little Matthew McConaughey action. Hey, Connor.
Luke Falk is going to be a renowned author coming this fall, so make sure to check that out. The Mind Strength Playbook, that's going to be insane. And if we tweet at him enough, then maybe he'll do the Audible thing. We'll see.
So brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, Luke was just awesome. Like we said, we're gonna keep plugging this. Get over here after this live show ends. Get over there, get your cup of coffee. It's 1 hour long. Luke Falk, tons of details, tons of anecdotes. We had just a ton of ton of fun talking with him. But Johnny Shepard, this news dropped yesterday. There is some more competition heading to the Cougars quarterback room this fall. And, essentially what we're seeing is what their type of quarterback is with this staff. When you take a look at Mark Gronowski last year at South Dakota State, he's now transferred to Northwestern, big time money, Iowa, big time money in the Big Ten. But similar attributes, a guy that's going to be able to run, the option. He's going to be able to run out of the backfield. He's a big body. From what I've seen on Twitter, I mean, like we said, we've got one video that we're looking at, and it's I think a 17-yard rush. Other than that, the only clips you're going to see is people playing with Shepard in College Football 25 on Twitter. So, First thoughts, Jackson, in terms of the makeup and what this staff is looking for quarterback wise.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts pertaining to Shepard, not much, because we actually haven't seen this guy throw a football, put on shoulder pads and put on a WSU uniform. So there's I don't really have a whole lot of thought. Maybe he will be the starting quarterback for us. Maybe this is indicative of the kind of quarterback that we're going to start seeing at WSU, because, he's 6'2", 230 pounds. Gronowski was 6'3", 230 pounds. This is, it just adds up. Or maybe he's more of a gadget quarterback. I don't know. And I'm we'll see. But I do think what I think of most is, this is clearly a guy who is probably going to be a little bit more of a runner than a thrower. And it's indicative of the direction that WSU's offense is heading. And that is further and further away from the air raid, the offense that has sort of given WSU brand recognition. And that's what I think about the most when I see a quarterback like Ajani Shepard coming in. It's us going farther and farther away from the recognition of Mike Leach's time at WSU. And that scares me, quite frankly. I know there's been a lot of people who really want to see us ground and pound, really change the offense. And I'm not saying it can't work, There's clearly teams that do it, and Jimmy Rogers has a great resume, so I'm certainly not doubting the guy. But I do think there's inherent value in WSU appearing the way that WSU has sort of been etched into our minds for the past decade plus. Quick, fast, explosive, high scoring, quite frankly, defense optional. That sort of mentality is what people associate with WSU, Pac-12 After Dark, XYZ. And getting farther away from that is scary. And I think, I think a lot of people said, I want to be more like Boise State. And that's a noble thought. But when I look at Boise State, I still see Chris Peterson. And maybe actual coaches be like, that's ridiculous. It's been 12 years, a decade, or whatever, however long it's been. There's nothing left of Chris Peterson in that Boise State team. Well, I still see him lining up under center. I still see him with a great tailback. I still see him getting, picking their spots when they're getting, trick plays and stuff like that. That still reminds me of a Chris Peterson team. And I think WSU had something similar with the air raid. And the farther you get away from that, it scares me. But, getting back to Shepard, it's just, we got to let this kid put some pads on and play, because he's thrown 2 passes in college football against an FCS opponent and has ran the ball once for 20 yards. And that's what, like Dylan said, that's what we're evaluating this kid off of so far, which is not a very good evaluation. So I think we kind of have to just wait and see.
Yeah, and you have to bring competition into the quarterback room to see, what to help guys play up. We saw 1 quarterback already transfer out. The other 2 guys that are part of the 3 that were brought in, as far as quarterback is concerned, are high school guys, so they aren't really legit competition for the starting role next year. But I mean, my initial thought, just kind of thinking of Shepard's profile, is what if this gives you kind of Sam Darnold, Jalen Milroe vibes, to where you might see Milroe come in some situations to where he's got the mobile ability. If you've got Zevi driving down the field, maybe a goal line type thing, or a red zone situation to where Shepard comes in and runs out the outside, or at least you put him in the backfield with Zevi, then it's just another option that the defense has to look after. And like Jimmy has said, with everything, the defense and then also the offense, it's going to be multiple looks. We're going to do everything. It's we're not just one thing. We're going to do everything.
Yeah, ultimate coach. We want to be multiple. Yep, classic.
Yep. I actually just sent you guys a message. Take a look at your phones, because there's some breaking news that just dropped. There's another quarterback that has just signed with WSU.
Wow.
9 minutes ago.
Perfect.
Pittsburgh
right on time. Thank you.
Julian Duggar has signed with Washington.
Julian
State.
Duggar.
Through 13 passes this season as a true freshman, and he is left-handed. We've got a southpaw quarterback room.
Now you put this guy on the left, you put Shepard on the right, you put Zevi in the middle. You got a guy with both arms like on every side.
15
How do you
combined
think you're
passes
feeling?
between our two quarterbacks. What was that?
How do you think you're feeling if you're Zevi Eckhouse this morning right now?
I think you're probably feeling like I feel like you're feeling comfortable, but also you're probably knowing, because we've had like one game to watch Zevi play, and what I got didn't necessarily, like, it wasn't physicality that stood out from Zevi's play. Like, he was tough in the pocket, but like, you know, and I don't really know
It was
where his
Drew
mobility is
Brees-like.
at, but
Like a
yeah,
poor
a
man's Drew
little
Brees.
Wait,
No offense.
yeah, we're not gonna go and call Zevi Drew Brees, but like, you know,
Yeah.
certainly his arm was what we were impressed with, you know, not his legs. And I think they're just trying to diversify the quarterback room. But that, you know, maybe does that give him some pause of, you know, well, maybe they are looking for a run first quarterback, and that's not me. Personally, I'm like, I feel quarterback's got to be able to throw the football before he's going to be able to run the football. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
right, you got a great running back, let him run the ball. Like,
He's got a lot of good running backs.
yeah, we're in the ground and pound era now, right? Like, isn't that what we're doing here? Like, so I don't know. But again, two quarterbacks that have thrown a total of 15 passes. So
And you also have to look at their status. It's not like these guys that are coming in that are transferring are high profile guys with experience. These are all the guys that, like Shepard, you know, he has a few snaps under his belt over a couple years. Like Julian Duggar, he just was a true freshman. Like, he's got a few years to go. And WSU, you have to bring in depth. This is football. People get hurt. You have to bring in depth and provide, you know, a depth chart there. So, I mean, I wouldn't stress too much if you're Zevi right now.
Coming from Power 4 schools too, so that's like generally, like, you know, at face value, good sign that they're coming from, you know, at least bigger schools.
Yeah, I think at face value, though, like, they're both coming from P4 schools, and they're both taking this route that, you know, not the same sport, but similar to what we just said about Dylan Darling, you know, going down and trying to get playing time, whatever that means, whether it's playing time or getting that playing time, playing well, and then getting a bag at, you know, the P4 level again. But this just tells me, okay, you're bringing a guy that had a little bit of a cup of coffee in terms of 13 passing attempts, and a guy in a Johnny Shepard, both 3-star recruits. This tells me that this job's, I think, still open, and the staff is open. Yeah, it's wide open. And that, you know, that's not my hottest take, but you know, the staff is basically telling these two guys, like, hey, there's an opportunity for you to compete and win a job here, and if you want that, then we can provide that at Washington State.
Yeah. And I would imagine these, like, you know, it's not like we're dishing NIL money to these guys. Like, this is purely opportunity. Like, you got a shot to play, opportunity. So, you know, kind of feels like a low risk potential. I mean, I'm not going to say high reward, but like, maybe, who knows? Like, these guys, you know,
I mean, Cam Ward, you know, nobody could print out Incarnate Word on a map, let alone maybe enunciate it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So,
but I mean, yeah, like 3-star.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3-star athletes are just kind of like the biggest, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, tons of them. Like, we'll find out.
Just for the record, Julian Duggar, back in high school, 11.72 in the 100-meter dash in 2023. So this guy's a track star, and
running
6'3",
quarterback,
6'3", 210 running quarterback. I mean, that's going to be some competition right there. Yeah. I mean, if he shows his ability, it's like, yeah.
I think if Zevi has anything to worry about, it is just that. Like, do I not fit? Like, I have no doubt that he's the best, like, thrower of the football amongst this group. And maybe I'm wrong. I haven't actually watched any of them in person, so who knows? But he probably is. But is that even enough? Is that what Jimmy Rogers is looking for? Does he care enough about his passing ability that's going to sort of overcome a clear desire of a running quarterback?
And everything that Jimmy has said about Zevi, though, since arriving on campus has been, nothing but, flowers, this and that, helping with keeping retention, this and that. And I guess, it goes into maybe that double-edged sword of a head coach where it's like, hey, I got to be able to retain guys. I've also got to continue to look into the future, so it's like maybe playing fiddle for both ends there.
Yeah. I think what's impressed me, kind of touching on that, with Jimmy is like he's not very outspoken. A lot of coach speak, just sort of he fits with Ann McCoy, the administration. He fits with WSU in the sense that, and this is another departure from Leach, but I am not going to make unnecessary headlines. Like, we are out in Pullman. One of the advantages of being in Pullman is sometimes people just sort of forget about us. And to look at that as an advantage, I think that's kind of a little more his style of, not a lot of press coverage. We can kind of just do our own thing. And other than where I'm contractually obligated to do social media spots and sell tickets, stuff like that. Like, you don't hear a whole lot from him. And I am totally okay with that. That is totally fine with me. Go do the work, figure it out. First of all, if you guys remember last year, oh my God, blanket Dickert was literally telling us, guys, this team is actually not that good. Like, we're not that talented. That's what he was saying, like, around this time. Like, it's going to be a team effort. And honestly, I think, like, okay, yeah, you can say, like, that's fine, but, like, how about just don't say anything? Like, that's probably the better approach, is just like, yeah, we're good. Like, nothing to report over here.
Keep your head down
yeah.
and get to work. And in his intro press conference, and as he said, like, they won at South Dakota State University. They are winners. He wants to win a national championship at Washington State, no matter how unrealistic that might sound. Like, their goal is to win and to keep winning. Yeah.
Yeah, when Texas Tech is
maybe just make it to the dance. Like, that's not crazy. Like, we could potentially do that, but
we've got Texas Tech with a $40 million football roster. I mean, it's just things have changed, man. Things have changed.
I mean,
also, anybody listening, any comments on these new quarterbacks, any thoughts, ideas, shoot them up here. We'll talk about it. But yeah, I mean, 2 quarterbacks in 2 days. Where are the offensive linemen? That is my question. Obviously, they bring in a pretty big behemoth in Sony Faleo, the Idaho transfer, a 6'6" tackle, 312 pounds. Shout out Mike Iupati. And then what we're seeing, you also bring in an offensive lineman, AJ Vaipulu, and I apologize for the enunciation on these guys. He was a 3-year starter at New Mexico State. They also bring in a linebacker from New Mexico State and an edge from New Mexico State. So I don't know where the connection is with some coaches on that team, but hey, there's connections everywhere in this game. But we're seeing a lot of defensive linemen come in. Darian Dalton, San Diego State transfer. Mike Yohan, Sanjo Nick. I'm not even going to say it.
I think
SMU. I mean,
you could read into that of like, oh man, a lot of defensive linemen. I think WSU is at a position of just like best of it, like who's in the market, who's available within the marketplace, and can we get them to WSU? Like, if we get too many defensive linemen or too many edges, like, we'll deal with that, or someone will transfer, and it's like not that big of a deal. But right now, it's kind of just like, oh, is there opportunity to make our roster better? Great, let's jump on it. Like, let's see if we're in business and we can compete, with these kind of guys. And yeah, I think that is really more the mentality than, oh, we need defensive linemen, or oh, we need offensive linemen. It's just who's available and can we get them?
So with that being the case, we put out in the headlines that, hey, we're going to do report cards. What would you give Jimmy Rogers as his report card heading into, at least at this point in where we're at?
With retention, roster reconstruction, transfers, whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I think I'm at around like a B. Like, has there been anything that has happened where I'm like, wow, home run? Like, no, he brought along his cast from South Dakota State, to be expected. There hasn't been any big splash sort of transfer portal acquisitions. He's just been doing exactly what he should be doing. And I think that's what I appreciate. And that, I think a B is probably about like, is saying good, not great, but good. And he's just getting to work, because the reality of the situation is like there's a massive roster turnover. This could go poorly to start. Like, that's a reality. And to sort of not set expectations, to sort of just go about the work, and we'll see where the cards fall in the fall. Well, see where the cards land in the fall, is probably the best approach for this, because as I said, we really don't know what this is going to look like in year one, and you don't want to set expectations that this thing is just going to hit the ground running when we don't know that's the case. So and again, we've looked at the class, pretty much 3 stars across the board. I'm not a talent evaluator, so I don't know. Like, we're going to find out what these guys are really about in the fall. So I have no real reason to believe that he has knocked it out of the park to move it up to the A, but also I have seen absolutely nothing bad. So I certainly wouldn't go anywhere below about a B. I'm curious what you guys graded him out as.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a B plus. Like you mentioned, there's no big splashes. It's hard to have really big splashes when it's a completely new regime. Like you mentioned, they brought a ton of players. They brought their entire staff. They're bringing in their offense and the defense that they had running at South Dakota State. And until we get into it a year, we can see with a little more clarity of what's going on and what type of recruits that they're going to get. But just in all of the discussions that we've had with Jimmy, with the coaching staff, with everyone involved, more in it than us, it's all extremely positive. And I think it's a really good thing that it's not that he's not a good talker, it's that he doesn't want to talk. It's like his job is football and to get this team ready to go for the fall. And I think he's doing a great job, and his coaching staff is doing a great job. But like you mentioned, no big splashes, but it's like, let's just see where we're at in the fall and, see if they can keep getting some guys. But yeah, the retention also is huge with keeping Zevi, all these different guys, these leaders in the locker room, I think are big too.
Yeah, I'm going to go right at it with Jackson. I'll agree there, a B. You bring in your whole staff. I think, some of the home run hits that we've seen so far, obviously Kirby Voorhees and Angel Johnson, his dynamic running back duel, and even Maxwell Woods. And I know, it's a jump. They're going to be coming up from the FCS.
Well, and unless there was like NIL money that WSU had to compete with Angel Johnson, like that's what I was like.
They did.
I would expect, and depending upon what the marketplace looked like, I don't know, but I would expect him to be able to retain a lot of his guys, and he did. So, but
Tucker Large, Caleb Bransel, FCS All-American, also both of them.
Yeah, Angel Johnson, had a visit scheduled with Tennessee. He never went to campus there, but it was very, very much on his radar. So, I think another guy that you take a look at, Devin Ellison, but again, a JC transfer, hasn't been on the field, this and that. We hear great things of how great he looks so far in spring ball, but at the end of the day, we're going to need to get into the second or the third week of fall camp to finally start understanding, okay, where the position battles are, who's really, elevating themselves, at whatever position group, so those are going to be the weeds that Jamie Vinnick and the Greg Woodses of the world and the Sam Taylors of the world are going to be doing for, everybody that can't be at fall camp. So I'm just really looking forward to fall camp. And Jackson, you were saying this earlier, like it's just a long time until we have football. Yeah. And I know it seems like it's right around the corner. May Gray's kind of going by, but there's still a lot of time until football.
This is kind of the time of the year where you start going crazy and you start getting really excited about a guy like a Johnny Shepard. You're just like, oh my God, this could completely revolutionize WSU's offense now. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, we just don't have football for another 4 months. So we're all coping here.
He's got a 92 speed in college football 25, guys. Come on.
I mean, there you go. I mean,
We saw some of those responses about Shepard yesterday. We'll see what the responses are about this new quarterback that just transferred over, with his speed and his track history.
Yeah. I mean,
I love it. Bring speed into the quarterback room. I mean, you take a
Yeah.
look around college football. I mean, it's pretty much everywhere.
What kind of confuses me is that isn't the transfer portal closed technically? The spring window runs
For-
from April 16th
for
through the
entering it.
25th, right? Oh,
For
okay.
entering the portal.
That's when you can enter.
entering.
There's no date to decide.
There is a date where they've got to, if like, hey, I'm Dylan, I'm in the portal, I'm going to Wake Forest or this or that, it's like
Right.
you've got this window. I think. Well, let's take a look. Let me look it up while you guys.
Well, yeah,
chat.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah,
I just see that the
I was
portal.
gonna say I have trying to navigate transfer portal rules. I will remove myself from that one because that's not in my pay grade, I'll say.
Let's see here. Yeah, because it shows the college football 30 days during the. Okay. I mean, for what I'm seeing, it says that the portal is shutting down on April 25th, 2025, and here we are May 8th, and there's still guys that are committing to other schools. So
I think
I don't see an end date to when they have to decide. But, I don't know. I'll have to do some more research on that.
I also like one of the receivers that we got recently, Jeremiah Noga from Oregon State, came on as a preferred walk-on early at Oregon State, battled his way up, 22 catches last year out of his 32 career. But this is a guy that is your typical slot man that's going to do a lot of dirty work in terms of blocking downfield. I really like it. And when I spoke to him on the phone last week, and he actually gave us quite an interesting nugget. He's cousins with legend Hercules Mataafa. So when Hercules was playing at WSU, his family would drive up Friday or Thursday night. They would stop at Grants Pass, Oregon, where Noga's from, stay with them, and then they'd leave for Pullman in the morning. So that was like kind of the halfway mark. And Noga said, yeah, any Oregon State, Oregon game, I'd go watch him play this and that. And I thought like one of the better lines from what he said in terms of why he wanted to go to WSU is because the coaches, paraphrasing here, they didn't promise him anything. And he said he was getting promises from other schools. And he goes, dude, I've been in this business far too long. And hilarious hearing 22-year-olds say I've been in this business far too long.
Oh my God.
Where I know, where I know promises like that.
Ripping a stove while kid, I've been here for too long. That's so great.
Where it's like, look, I know those promises aren't really promises, and I'm here to work. I've got one last season and one last chance to do something. So, and obviously 2 games against Oregon State probably also appealed for the former Beavers. So I like what the staff's doing in terms of like, hey, look, we're breeding competition here. Nothing's given. Everything's going to be earned here in fall camp. So interesting to see how this goes. Obviously you lose Shackelford, but you bring in, Noga, who, realistically about the same type of player, and both, upperclassmen, what you're getting in terms of guys that are going to know football coming in here. And you pair that up with Josh Meredith, Devin Ellison, and, maybe you have a couple young guys that sprout out over fall camp.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll say this. We are truly heading into unknown territory, or it certainly feels that way with the WSU receiving core. Like, even I was saying this last year, where just having Kyle Williams felt like such a departure from the WSU of old. And when I say old, like talking like 20, the Leach years, where the WSU receiving room was always stacked. It was a question of who was going to get the most of the opportunity. And there was never a question of the talent or the depth in the receiver room. Now, there's some names that were like, oh, well, maybe, Devin Ellison, like that could be exciting. Like, what? Yeah. We don't know anything about it is a huge question mark. And maybe with the new offense, it's not as big of a deal. Like, it's just not, it's not the air raid. So it's not as big of a priority. But whoo, man, it feels weird. Like, it feels like you're kind of like walking outside with no clothes on, where you're just like, oh, okay, this is like, this does not feel like what I am accustomed to right now.
We're heading into weird territory, and yeah, we'll have to see what happens with football. If you're listening to this, make sure to comment below like your thoughts on what's happened so far with the football team, the additions. Go check out CougFan.com, and let's pivot over to basketball. What do you? Yeah, Dylan, you have something else?
Before we pivot over to basketball, we've got one video for you folks. Ajani Shepherd right here.
Course of his career. Oh shit. Shepherd keeps it himself and he gets across to the 45-yard line. Very similar skill set.
Oh,
was he saying
yes!
Oh Shep? Was he saying oh Shep?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I
that
think
just
that's what
fired me up, baby. 15-yard first down right there.
I thought it was like you just hand the ball off. We watched him hand the ball off. What?
Against the Wisconsin third string. Yes. Very a lot.
42-7, 3 minutes to go in the game. This is what we're getting, Coug Nation. But yeah, we will pivot. We will pivot to basketball here. David Riley and his staff are working hard in terms of the transfer portal. We lose Cedric Coward, Lawan Watts, Isaiah Watts, and Nate Calmise. Calmise heads to Wake Forest. Lawan takes a bag that we've heard as high as $1.75 million from Texas Tech. Cedric Coward, you got to figure that guy's making over $2 million, because here's the new thing. It's like, okay, we've got the money in college sports. Oh, you're going to be a mid to maybe second round pick. Well, okay, this is what you're making in the NBA. By the way, it's also not guaranteed completely. How about you take $2 million and you come back to school for one more year? That's what we're seeing across the board in college sports.
Well, I was going to say, just to add on to that, what we're also seeing is, because while the House settlement is trying to get sort of sorted out, and everyone is essentially looking to unload the war chest before it becomes capped at that 20 million cap from the university and the revenue distribution. So everyone is trying to sign deals now and lock their prices in, and essentially all of this booster money that we have, or at least the schools that actually have booster money that's pouring in, we need to get this and spend it now. So when this becomes regulated, and we already got the contracts locked in. So you're also getting a little bit of that too. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy marketplace. And I feel like basketball is like, it just gets crazier and crazier each season with the money. Because I mean, realistically, like one guy can change your program, for the most part. But when we take a look at what Riley has done this offseason in terms of his incoming transfers, a lot of international flair. Out of the 10 guys on the roster, only 3 are American born. Parker Garrett's, Case Why Not, and I am missing that third player. But you bring in, you complete a trade with Texas Tech. You bring in Emili Yalejo, 6'8", handful of games last season. He'll have 2 to 3 years of eligibility. He's from Finland. Another guy you bring in, 6'9" transfer from Canada, Simon Hildebrandt, played at 29-6 High Point. I had them in the Sweet 16. They were my darlings. They did not make it there. Then you bring in who is going to be our starting 5, in my opinion, Emmanuel Ubo from Boise State. Basically what we're seeing is Riley is filling out his Dane Erikstrup and Ethan Price replacements, but he's doing it with guys that are polished on the defensive end and the rebounding side of things, because defensive rebounding efficiency last year was bottom of the barrel. Turnovers were bottom of the barrel. And from what it looks like to me is he's bringing in guys that are going to fit in terms of high motors, defense, rim protection, rebounding, and I'm going to do my best to get out of them the most I can offensively within my system. And that's the pivot that Riley had to make after what we saw on the floor last year. Something's got to change a little bit to improve the rebounding and the turnover aspect. And I like what he's doing, bringing in a lot of 6'8", 6'9" guys that can handle the rock, shoot outside, post you up, and also play defense.
Yeah, I mean, that's really my note, was the length. Like I think at best these guys were role players for their respective teams, the guys who are transferring in. So you just don't really quite know like what that'll look like if you start giving them more minutes. You hope that it works out, but like I'm not really familiar with their games or what Riley is trying to do. I just do know that when you're in a position that WSU is in, the way to equalize sort of the disparities of resources within universities is Europe. Europe is the way, is the great equalizer in college basketball. And I would like to see them continue to go there, try and find some prep kids, someone that you could maybe keep on for a couple years, a development year, and then a playing year. And I don't know, I hope you guys have adopted this mindset that all these guys I look at as 1-year contracts plus options, like that's just the way it is. So like, we have to wait and see the entire roster because he's essentially retooling an entire team,
Yeah, for the second straight season. And he can't bring in 4 guys that have been in his system for 3 years this year either.
It's going to be like that every year. Every year that there is any sort of success, it will be a retool. So those are the terms of the deal. So I'm looking at all of these guys as 1 year plus an option. And you just got to, again, similar with Jimmy Rogers, like we have to be able to at least give Riley the time to construct the full team because this is a very incomplete team right now. And it's great. And I love the fact that he's added length, guys who have at least been playing college ball, are familiar with
good programs too.
At good programs. Yeah, good programs. Like that's all promising to see, but I don't have any, I'm at a B with Riley again, because I have not seen anything that he has done that is wrong, but also again, similar with Rogers, like I don't see any home runs right out of the 4 transfers. I think it's 4, right? You said 4.
4 or 5 now. And okay. It's the one other American-born player that I'm now remembering. It's Morehead State transfer, Jerome Morton, 6'4" guard. But what they're missing right now is a proven scorer. I just don't know, like on this current roster, like is Thrasterson's your guy to go get you a bucket with 5 on the shot clock? I just don't see it. He was a guy, like going back to your point where Europe is the great equalizer. We saw it with Kyle Riley. He not only Europe, he went into Africa as well with Chinyelu, Mohamed Gay, F.A. Abu Ghadi. I mean, like he understood the assignment when he got to Washington State. He knew how to recruit to Pullman, and he got those guys that were going to stay. Even Bamba left, but he was there for 3 years. He got guys to be able to stay for 2 or 3 seasons. And we want to see maybe another prep player of the Thrasterson type, where literally no stars, out of Iceland last year around this time. Like, who the hell is this kid? But it's proven that he has been able to make relationships during his time at Eastern Washington. With, he said, maybe a handful of people that he trusts back in Europe, where it's like, that person gives him, hey, here's a name, here's a player. Now you guys have to do your own research on it. But absolutely, Jackson, that is the greatest equalizer, is recruiting internationally to Pullman.
Totally. Yeah. And when I said Europe, that you're totally right. Like South America, Africa, Australia, like all of these places, Asia now, a lot, South Korea, Japan, like there's a lot more talent coming out from those places. And, you just can't reasonably expect the entire college basketball landscape to all have their eyes out there.
Yeah.
Like you're in effect, you are trying to get lucky, really, is you're hoping that you find someone that everyone else has not found. And that cannot happen in the United States. The scout, the amount of money, the amount of resources that are now in these programs, every square inch of the United States is essentially accounted for. Where it's not accounted for is across the pond. And that's where you got to try and find an advantage,
Yeah, I give him a B. Obviously, still need to get that scoring guard. There's a couple names that I've heard. I'm not going to drop them yet, but there's a guy basically at a mid-major level, averaged about 13, 14 points last year, was a 50, 38, 80% guy. they're trying to get another year of eligibility for this player because he was a senior last year, but only played 2 games his sophomore season. So that's the only tidbits you're going to get from me on that end. But they need to get a couple more guards, one more ball handler, and a guy that can go out and get you a bucket late in the shot clock or whatever it may be.
And whoever that guy is, like, while what you just said, that sounds like that would be a home run. A guy who is averaging 14-ish points a game, shooting 50, 38, and what was 90? I mean, whatever it was, that would be a home run by that profile. But like that guy who's going to go get us a bucket, whoever that is, it's probably going to be their first time being that guy in college. Like this will be, they're going to be their first time being the man on a team. And, if you're Riley, that's sort of the selling point is like, we currently
that's what
have
you're
a
offering
team with no dude. Like, who is going to be the face of this team? It's up for grabs. And I think that's sort of, your selling point for at least some of these transfers.
One more question before we get out of here. Jackson,
thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna defer on basketball. I'm gonna stick with you guys and say a B. Jackson, who do you think is going to be the first university that the Pac-12 will add, or the 8th university? I don't know if you guys saw the Canzano article talking about UNLV, where things are lining up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the natural, like, you want UNLV. Like, I agree. I'm on the side of let's keep this thing on the West Coast if you can, to get to 8. If you could get UNLV to get to 8, so that solidifies you. And then, maybe down the line, if you get like a Memphis Tulane package to make it 10, like, I'm okay with that, I guess. Add a little bit of intrigue to basketball, but I don't know, Memphis and Tulane as I don't, the thing that I feel like a lot of people have been getting caught up on is which team can we add to add more value to our media rights deal. And we're at the point where, guys, it's not about Memphis, Tulane, whether it's UNLV, Memphis, Tulane, Texas State. We're splitting hairs between these schools. Our value is inventory. How many games we can provide a broadcaster to put on their network so they can make money through selling advertisements through the viewership. That's the name of the game right here. Not, oh my God, all the people from New Orleans tuning into Tulane, like, let's go crunch the numbers. And like, that's not the equation that is happening here. Like, it gets to a point where there
time
are
slots.
Blue Bloods. Yeah, and it's time slots, but like, there is the Blue Bloods, the people up top, and then there's kind of just everybody else, and I hate to be the guy. I hate to be the guy to say that WSU falls into the everybody else category, but like, we all know that's where we are. Even if in our hearts it doesn't feel that way. And along with our peers. And that's what makes the new Pac-12 great, is that no one is above anyone else. We're all, even though while contractual, like, sort of like legally, I think WSU and Oregon State are driving the ship right now. That will obviously change in the future. But like, everyone's kind of dependent upon everyone else. There's no one that has such great value that, they're thinking like, oh, maybe, we could maybe be getting that, that ACC offer once, FSU and Miami split. Like, no, that's not happening. Like, we are where we are. And this is what makes it great, is because we have like-minded universities that are in a similar position, and we can band together and create a conference that we feel can stay. So I do think a UNLV would be awesome, because that keeps it within the West Coast. But once you get beyond UNLV, your options for West Coast schools, then you do start to drop down another tier where it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I do think I'd rather go. I do think a Fox or an ESPN is looking at like, oh, come on, like, go get Memphis instead of Montana, something like that. I'm not suggesting that Montana's being seriously considered. I'm just trying to think of a West Coast school. but there aren't that many.
I'm the head coach's name, the new head coach at UNLV football, Mississippi State coach, Florida. I cannot think of his name right now.
I'm thinking him on TV more than I think.
Yeah, I'm like, I can see him on TV talking, but I can't see his nameplate right now.
OC for that Florida.
I think Connor's looking it up.
Dan
Mullen. There we go. Dan Mullen.
Yes.
Well, what I'm seeing with them is just the Brian Windhorst meme. It's like, okay, they're paying him $3 million a year to coach there.
Yeah.
They can only pay him for 1 year. They've said that publicly with their regents. You're paying this guy $3 million to coach in the shitty Mountain West. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And I'm sorry to knock the Mountain West there, but there's a huge difference. And what you're seeing him do at UNLV, it's the nameplate. It is legitimately last chance U right now. The amount of former 4- and 5-star recruits that he's gotten, and mind you not, these are all guys that have been on 2 or 3 teams now, this and that. But it goes back to what you said, 6-7 months ago, where it's like WSU's got to maybe take into this fact of like, hey, we are maybe a last chance for a person. I like what they're doing there with that football program. He's got a lot of facilities to work with. They play in the Raiders Stadium. I mean, there's just so much to like with UNLV. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, you guys know that one cartoon meme where the guy's like talking to the one person in the corner of the party and everybody else is having their conversation. And it's like, everybody else is like UNLV people that are pissed off at the Pac-12. Oh, you guys. And like, I'm in here, I'm like secretly like, I want UNLV in the Pac-12.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can call a spade here. Like, I don't give a damn who's coaching UNLV. I want Las Vegas in the Pac-12 blueprint or, footprint. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Still
what
wants
most
his
people
yearly
want.
trip out to Vegas for that game.
Totally. That's what we all want. Everyone
We
wants
all want that. Come on.
The Big Ten wants that. The SEC wants it. No one is turning down Vegas. So to have that within the Pac-12 footprint would be huge. Now, the other thing that we aren't talking about is if we're going to entertain sort of like, this sort of like, where's all this money coming from UNLV? Is Sacramento State doing it? Like,
they know how to keep their name in the news.
Do they have this money? Like, maybe. I'm not, I haven't audited Sacramento State's athletic department.
Man. Like, look what they're doing. I mean, they're playing their basketball home games now at Chase Center. Like, Shaq is their honorary GM. Mike Bibby is their basketball head coach. And also, I thought the funniest first move, I guess, if we're going to say this is Shaq's first move, goes out and signs Mikey Williams, that head case. I don't know if you guys know the name Mikey Williams.
No,
got kicked off his first basketball team because he had a gun. So it just kind of gives you the 411 there. But I mean, they're making all the right moves when it comes to media attention.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if that's all smoke or if there's actually something that is sustainable over there. Don't know. But that's another school that is on the West Coast that is showing ambition, which is huge. And could be like, I would love UNLV to be number 8. And then, Sacramento State, you sort of have this, a few years to sort of try and prove the thing is for real. Figure it out. And then if you can, who do you pair as a 10th, with Sacramento State? That would be, I feel like that would be my ideal scenario because, again, I'm just not,
Maybe bring in the St. Mary's to pair them and they're just basketball.
Maybe. Yeah. But then,
I only like St. Mary's until 2031. I only bring them on for the next 5 years until that contract ends, because realistically, Randy Bennett is 62 years old. I'm thinking that program's pretty much going as high as it can with Mr. Bennett coaching there. So if you add St. Mary's as that add-in team with UNLV for basketball only, well, now you can sell, I guess, 3 Gonzaga St. Mary's games a year. I don't know. That's just my thought.
I don't know if anyone is, thinking about the 3 St. Mary's Gonzaga game. It's difficult because it would be a basketball only situation, similar with Gonzaga. So I guess you would have those two paired as the basketball only, but and the numbers confuse me so much now. So we're at 7 for football, correct?
And 8 total.
And then 8 total. Okay.
Non-football.
So yeah.
So we need at least one more football. Yep.
Yeah. So that could be it. That could be UNLV, Sacramento State get added as the 2 footballs, but then that puts you at 9. Ew. Because I was going to say then you add St. Mary's to get you to 10 total for basketball, but then you're sitting at 9.
You really want to get like 2 more football teams for scheduling purposes when you think about it, because then you have at least 8 so
that's where Memphis and Tulane are still, the names that are being put out there.
But maybe you just add this 8th member, and you're playing 7 conference games for a few years, and everybody in the league has their one bloodbath game. Oh, hey, Colorado State's headed out to Auburn this week, or WSU's headed out to Ole Miss this week, because you better believe Washington State is getting a pretty penny for going out to Ole Miss this season.
Yeah, do we know? Do we know is that a buy game? Is WSU in a position where we're signing up for buy games? I
asked Greg.
That would be a new era.
He said he didn't say yes, but he said you have to believe that this is, you're getting some financial equity out of playing Ole Miss at Ole Miss.
Well, right, and it's not a home and home. Like it's
not a home and home. Okay. The way it's set up is Wake Forest didn't want to play him this year. Wake Forest dropped the game and then added Oregon State, and then we took the Ole Miss game.
I don't know if you guys saw, but there's a Mississippi State home and home set for like 2030, 31.
Saw that
with Washington State.
Saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that could be an interesting situation of maybe it was like, okay, we had these guys drop out, so we insert WSU, we cover travel, but it's not like a traditional buy game where we're literally writing you guys a check to come here. But
you're not going to lose any money.
Travel expenses, and WSU looks at it as like, hey, we get a game on ESPN 2 or something.
National
like
attention,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that from a scheduling perspective, that like continuing to get those kinds of games where you have that one, ideally you want to be looking for Power 4 team from ranked 11 to 25, somewhere in the teens, not a top 10 game. You do not want that. Don't want a huge L to, number 4 Ohio State, but you do want an opportunity to play a top 25 team early while you still have a healthy roster, because as we've seen for the last, few years, the problem with having less resources means less depth. And then you get to the end of the season and you don't have, your roster is not holding up. And then we all just say, look how terrible our coaches are because we dropped 3 of our last 4. When it's like, guys, look at our roster. They told us at the beginning of the year, we're not a talented roster. They said it. They came out and just said it. Like, it's not, our coaches are not just like becoming inept when November rolls around. Like, it is a roster holding up. You try and think of the wear and tear of playing a full season of football. That is incredibly difficult. It's not the coaches just like, I don't know how to coach anymore. Like, October I did, November I don't. Like, it's wear
I was one of those guys that was on our defensive on Schmedding all year long. Yeah, especially the last 6 weeks of the year. And then he guess where he is right now. He's on the Broncos coaching staff. Yeah. Paul Sorensen told us, like, he echoed the same thing. He said, look, like it all wasn't on the coaches last season. And I'll be the first one to say, hey, I'm sorry. I might've been wrong there. There was a serious lack of depth.
Another great example of something like that is like every football fan just hates Chip Kelly. You know who likes Chip Kelly? Other football coaches. Like, it's not like, okay, if the industry is saying that, no, this is a good guy, like, trust me, like, maybe consider the fact that you might be chasing something that is, chasing straws, like that, like, he might actually be a good coach, guys. Like, I'm sorry, but no, I do think, like, we do just need to try and get to a place where the total roster start to finish is in a better place, and getting those games early allows you to get the possibility of a great top 25 win while your roster is still healthy, and then you just try and hold on towards the end.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, awesome stuff, dude. Jackson, we really appreciate you jumping on with us today. I wanted a little bit more of like a first take vibe today, where we can really just, go at it, 3 box, and Connor's our Molly, and he's like, hey guys, all right.
I love disagreeing.
Yeah,
I find your guys' WSU takes very agreeable, though. Like, there's nothing I love more than a WSU take that I disagree with. Oh my God, it makes me. It is what truly
go to Cougs
makes
1,
me
2,
happy.
3 page then.
Makes me happy.
I'm sorry.
I love and I'm an equal opportunist for takes I disagree with. I won't call anyone out, but I love to participate in the quote unquote discourse when it is something I disagree with. Rarely you will finding me participating in the discourse, unless it's with you, fine gentlemen, if it's something I agree with. So, I am here for the contrarian takes.
Well, we'll remember that for the future. We'll definitely have Jackson on, throughout the following year, throughout the season for both football and basketball. We love talking with him. Knows a lot about the Cougs and sports in general, and also offers a little bit of I would say maybe even like a insightful aspect of things, more literary.
What it is when I got to WSU, there was this and you're a student journalist and you're so self-conscious about this idea that you're a journalist, yet you're covering the team that you go to school, the team that school you go to, and you truly want to feel objective, like you're doing the real job. So I really at an early age, that freshman, sophomore year, where you truly just fall in love and become the diehard, just nonsensical Coug fan. Those 2 years, I was really fighting that, trying to be a journalist and cover the team. So I do think I came out of my time at WSU with a little more I don't want to say a level head, because I love all Cougs, no matter how passionate, no matter how illogical you are. I love every single one of you. But I do think I have a little bit more of a level head when it comes to where WSU fits in the hierarchy of college athletics. And in order to improve our stance within the hierarchy, I feel it is appropriate to be honest with ourselves of where we are, and sort of take an accurate account of where we stand in order to elevate our profile.
You said, okay, you got to find that. I'm going to leave with this. You got to find that way of hey, I go to school here, but I'm still objective. And this is the only time that I celebrated in the press box, but I didn't celebrate in the press box. USC, WSU.
That's right. I remember that. I was on the call for that game. It was me, Doug Taylor, and Austin. And Austin Getz. Us three.
God, what a trio!
What
that
an
was
all-star!
back in the day,
what an all-star crew, right?
Man, you got Austin doing his thing up at Spokane as the sports director. Yes. You've got Doug Taylor still calling games for Idaho women's basketball. He does baseball. You're working at Fox Sports now. I mean, hey, correct. Everybody's doing their thing, man.
All out here trying to make it happen,
Well, hey, awesome. We appreciate it, Connor. Yeah. Thank you for being Molly Curum today. We appreciate that.
Yeah, you got it. Jackson. Thanks for coming on. Make sure to go follow Jackson across social media platforms, and like and subscribe to the Couch GM. He'll be on again soon, and we'll see you on the next one.
Sign up for CougFan.com, please.
As always, of course.